Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Alex Avila with Love University. Please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe on today's video. Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Alex Avila with Love University, and we're back. I'm an author, psychologist, and speaker. Every week, we're talking about how to love ourselves, others, and higher nature, how to improve our finances, career, health, relationships, and spirituality. And today, we have a very special Invincible You edition that we call Más, which in Spanish refers to more love, more joy, more prosperity. And to help us with that, I have a special guest today, Melissa Barragan, who is a young lady who was born in Colombia, came to the U.S. after a terrible tragedy, which we'll talk about. And she transformed her life into a powerful position of love and success. And lives in Miami, Florida. Starting from the garden up, she is now the vice president of sales at Desert Platinum Realty, and is one of the top real estate producers in the state of Florida. She works with high net worth individuals, including celebrities, billionaires, and professional athletes, generating over $200 million in real estate sales. And she has 1 million people who follow her on Instagram. She's also a former beauty contest contestant, Miss Universe pageant, and involved in businesswoman empowerment. And her dog also had 5 puppies, if that's correct.
4 puppies.
Oh, 4 puppies. Okay, well, that's not bad. So you're doing. And welcome to the show, Melissa.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for having me. Such a pleasure to be here. You've been so inspirational to me with your concept of love and the 3 secrets of happiness and the Invincible You book. It really inspired me. And thank you.
I really appreciate that. And we have an interesting story of how we met. I was actually in Miami visiting my family with my son during my birthday time. And we were at the NBA Finals, Miami Heat and Denver Nuggets. And after the game, the Miami Heat lost, and we were waiting for our cars in the parking lot and started talking. And you started telling me about a story of tragedy from your home, but also of deliverance and transformation. So I want to start a little bit with that. Can you tell us a little bit about your background coming from Colombia, something about your father, and what happened to you?
Sure. So basically, I was born in Cali, Colombia. I was the first child. This was in 1990. My mom was pretty young. She was about 20 years old when she had me. And when I was 2 years old, my parents got divorced. I did have a brother 11 months later. Sorry, that's my dog. And when my parents got divorced, I was still really young. When I was 8 years old, my family moved. There was a war going on in Cali, the drug war with Pablo Escobar and the Cali cartel. Things got pretty crazy over there. So we moved to Panama for a year, and then we moved to South Florida. And that was kind of when everything changed. My dad stayed in Colombia. My dad was involved in politics. My grandfather was a senator for 12 years of Cali. And so I kind of grew up around the political campaigns, and my dad was a very hard worker. He had, a full-time job. He was a CEO of a public transportation company that managed over 300 buses. He was a CEO of that. At nighttime, he would go to university, and then he was also a politician. So he was always very, very busy, and he was really hardworking, very ambitious, very humble, very generous, very nice to people.
Okay. So you were in Miami, and he was there in Colombia still. How old were you when you were here, let's say?
So I moved to Boca Raton, Florida, when I was 8 years old. And when I was 12 years old, he got kidnapped in Colombia by the terrorist group FARC.
Wow.
The Revolutionary Forces of Armed Colombia.
Okay.
So he got kidnapped. It was a political kidnapping. There was 12 politicians. It happened to be his birthday that day. They took them in a bus, and they said there was a bomb. They were dressed as police. As it turns out, it was a kidnapping. So once they got on the bus, they told them they were being kidnapped, and they wanted to do a human exchange with the government. And those negotiations went on for 5 years. It got really complicated. And in 2007, on June 18th, Father's Day, my father and 10 of his colleagues were murdered. It was a massacre. He was shot 8 times with an AK-47 on his back. His partners also, died that day, and it was pretty brutal massacre. And one of the guys survived. So after the fact, of course, I met with him. Me and my brother met with him to figure out why he was the only one that got out. Turns out later on that he was actually involved in drug business with the terrorists, and he actually helped plan this whole kidnapping. So that's the reason why they let him live. And The others unfortunately passed away.
Terrible tragedy. Now tell me, so how old were you when this happened, when you learned about
Well,
it?
I was 12 years old, and
12 years old.
when he got kidnapped, and I was 17 when they killed him. So it had a huge impact on my life and my adolescence growing up.
I see. So were you in here or in Colombia during the 5-year period, 12 to 17?
No, I was here. I was in Boca Raton, Florida. I'm in Miami now. I've been in Miami for over 10 years. I did
so how did it impact you? I mean, we have a lot of people on the show that have been, a lot of trauma, all kind of, terrible circumstances. As a daughter, I know there's a connection with your father. What was your feeling at the time and even today?
I think the feeling was of shock. I get reminded of it now when I see all this terrorism going on with Israel. And I see these families and these kids, and it takes me back to like that moment of how I felt when this all happened, and seeing everything on the news, and it was just so surreal. Like, you can't believe it's you. Like, you can't believe this is happening. Is this a movie? Is this a joke? The first instinctual reaction is almost denial. You're like, no, this can't be happening. Not to him, and then there was a lot of, even my mom wasn't sure at first because things got confusing. But yeah, it was confirmed. And, the survival videos we were getting on the holidays were terrible. You would see them deteriorate. They had them in terrible conditions. And like I said, when I see the hostages right now that they've taken in Israel, I really feel for them, because all I feel is, why can't we have world peace? Why all this violence? We don't need to pick a side. These terrorists are just... It's not good for anybody, but it really brings back a lot of those feelings of uncertainty, not knowing. Again, he was still alive. So then you also have this fear of every day, did he die yet? Did they kill him? Is he sick? What's going on? What's happening? It's a very uncertain and nerve-wracking situation to be in.
Yeah, because with PTSD or trauma, we know that there are what we call triggers that, like what we call flashbacks. So like you said, maybe watching the news, today can, bring you back to those times, the emotional pain and devastation or the depression.
I really can't watch the news, and I have PTSD problems. I have a really successful career, and I'm very grateful to God for that. My faith has always been something that I really relied on, because whenever I felt alone, the abandonment issues of being taken from him being taken from the family. I still struggle with those things sometimes, but I think what makes me feel better is that I feel like God is with me, and there's other people that, love me, and I have to live up to their, expectations of me. So it's a very difficult thing to go through, to be a victim of war or to be a victim of terrorism. It's very difficult, because you just feel like, why are people so bad? Why would somebody do this? I would never hurt somebody. Why would somebody do this?
Exactly. Well, Melissa, you may have heard the stages of grieving. Kubler-Ross did this study years ago, where there's the denial, like you said, shock, and then there's anger, and then there's sadness, also bargaining too, like, let's figure this out. I guess maybe in your case, can we save them? And then and then finally acceptance, and that's the last stage, and people go through different parts of it. So tell me about you. So you had the denial and the shock. Did you have anger at some point? Was there sadness?
I was a senior in high school, and I was dating this guy at the time. And it's so weird, because this guy ended up in my neighborhood, and one of his friends were in my class, and he was like a total troublemaker. And and I was like the number one person in the psychology class, and he was really a troublemaker. We started kind of like being friends. His best friend was dating my friend, and we all four would hang out. Turns out, actually, his parents paid to have him kidnapped one night. And I couldn't believe this, because my dad was kidnapped. And now here's like this guy that I'm dating, that I'm best friends with, and he lives in my neighborhood, and we're hanging out after school, and his brother calls me, "Hey, Melissa, did you hear he's kidnapped? They put him in a wilderness program." So they took him in the middle of the night and took him to Atlanta to the wild to survive.
Very strange, actually. So did that trigger anger about your dad as well? Was there a connection in this?
I think because I had just lost my father, and then when all this happened, it was kind of like you're just adding on to it. Me and my friend started kind of getting in a fight at that time. And I remember one time I got in trouble at school because we ran into each other one night at a gas station, and she started kind of fighting with me, and I felt really angry. I really was angry, and I didn't know that I had like that much anger in me until that kind of like happened. Like, me and her kind of started fighting, and then I was so angry with everything going on, and it kind of felt like my heart hardened. Like, imagine your heart being like the soft little jello, and it just turned into a rock. And I just felt like, why? It felt so cold,
Because you strike me as a feeler. I think you took the love type quiz from the book Love Types. So do you go by your heart or your head in making choices, would you say?
I go by my heart. Yeah, we talked about the performer or the gentle artist, I think.
Yes, the gentle artist personality type, one of the 16. So the feeler does take things very emotionally, and that's part of their life, but they're also, on the good side, is they can feel deeply, they can love deeply, and they can connect with people. So, but the challenge is not letting the negative influences enter your inner core, keeping that outside. And the other thing is about, sadness, right? Sadness, depression. I think you mentioned to me, you're at a low state at one time, and you weren't, wanting to stay in this earth. Tell us about that.
So I went through a stage about when I was like 16. At first I was like 12, 13. I was still doing really good in school. I wanted to make my dad proud. Then I got to 16 and I'm like, wait a minute, he might not be coming back. Like, this is not looking really good. So I went into like this depressive gothic stage where I was like painting my nails black and I was writing poetry and I was listening to these depressing songs like Evanescence and like this Avril Lavigne song when, something about when her grandmother passed. Like I listened to that song and I almost wanted to like harm myself because I had so much pain and it looked like on the outside I was living this great life, right? My stepdad became very successful and, we were in a beautiful house and my mom would always buy me these great outfits and she was like, why are you always so sad? Why are you always so depressed? Look at the life that we have. And for me, it was so hard because it was like she had moved on. She was remarried with my stepdad. She had a new family. She wanted me to call him dad. And it was really hard to be happy, even when you have everything and materialistic things, right? But you have in your mind, you have this really conflicting situation. It's really hard to manage. So I tried to escape it for a while. I had some substance abuse problems. I would, overdrink or, experimenting with different things. And then I had this like epiphany come up. Well, I actually, at one point considered suicide. I had one point where I had been hurting myself just to kind of feel like hurt, just because like nobody could see my hurt. Nobody could feel it. It was only me. And sometimes I would like cut myself just to see myself bleed. Like, why is this happening? I just needed to like hide my pain. And it was really unhealthy. And I think when I got through that point, I kind of realized I hit rock bottom. I had an epiphany. And I know this sounds crazy, but I felt like an angel came over me. I was on the bathroom crying and I felt like an angel came over me and said, because I was like, God, can you just take my life? Like, I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know why I'm here. This world is so brutal and unfair. And I just don't understand what I'm doing here. And I don't know what to do. I want him to have his life back. He had a whole life. He had a new kid, with his new partner. He had a job. He was an important person. And I just felt like, who am I? Why am I here? And why did, can we just trade lives? Take my life, give him back his life? Like I was thinking all kinds of things. And at one point, things got really bad and my mom found out that things were this bad and she was kind of angry with me because she was like, you should be appreciative of all this and you should not be so sad and depressed all the time. But I was really close to my dad. And when you love somebody, it's very hard, because I could feel this connection with him and I felt his devastation. I felt this sadness and I would go to sleep and I would be looking for him in the jungle. And people would be burying him alive and I would be screaming and trying to save him and like going through all this in my head. Right. Yes. But it was just a very dark place. That was when I was about 16. I was about 17. I went from a 3.8 GPA to a 1.8 GPA my 10th grade year. And all my teachers were like, Melissa, what's going on? Because you're such a smart girl. We like you so much. And we've just seen this change in you. Like, what's going on with you? And, I had, people knew what was going on. I had talked to some people about it at my school. Nobody could understand. Everybody thought I was like, that's a movie. What are you talking about? Boca, it's like very unheard of to have this situation. So it was, it was a really dark time, depression. At one point I even got misdiagnosed, where people put me on medication that wasn't supposed to be on. And that also affected me physically. I went to Colombia to do a cleanse and it was just the trauma and the loss of it all. I found, again, in spirituality, I was able to kind of find my healing. And I kind of came to this epiphany of, okay, I'm either going to destroy myself or I'm going to find myself. So it was all about self-discovery or self-destruction. At that point, I felt like I had to make a choice. And at that point, I said, I'm going to use all this pain and this whole situation to be a better person and to help other people. And I'm going to use this, I need to be a better person for him and I need to be a better person in general. And maybe there's something that I can teach people And that's when I got involved in the pageants, and I got involved with kids that were autistic. And it was like a sports program at Parkland for kids that I would go to. I remember there was a 4-year-old autistic boy that proposed to me one day, and he wouldn't talk to anybody. So his parents were like, "Oh my God, you like Sia? This is so cool. He's talking." And, it was really nice to see. It was very rewarding for me to see these families, because it's very hard for them too, what they go through. And I just started realizing there's so many people that go through so many things in life. There's orphans, and you have the autistic kids, the kids with substance abuse. It was sad too, because, they felt like they were going through their own things at home, and they were using these drugs to cope and as coping mechanisms. And I'm like, you don't need any of that. Look what I went through, and look where I am now, and look what I've done with my life and my healing. And it was really nice to be an inspiration to them as well, and a role model.
Yeah, because what you're talking about, Melissa, in the spiritual text, they call it the dark night of the soul. A lot of the great spiritual teachers or people who have gone through these experiences, you have to go to a depth, right? The depth of despair. Life is meaningless. And then, they have some light that shines, right? Whether it's higher nature, God, spirit, or nature, something pulls them out because they relinquish the so-called ego, the control, and they let that power come through them, that higher nature. And then they find their meaning. And it sounds like you said helping the autistic kids, and also for your dad, I guess be an example for him and also for others in the future has kind of helped you find a meaning. And one of the keys to post-traumatic stress growth, what we call growth after PTSD, is to find meaning in the experience. And it sounds like you have done that or are doing that. And one of the things that I find very interesting is when we had this conversation, you said the word morir in Spanish means die, but then you did something with it. You changed it, and now you have on your Instagram live_MOR more. Tell me about that. How did that come about? That phrase.
So that little phrase came about. I was having kind of like a moment of depression, and I was like, God, I want you to talk to me. I want you to give me a sign. I feel sad. I feel lost. What is my purpose? So I laid down and I put a notebook next to me, and I said, whatever I think about when I'm dreaming, I'm going to write it down. So I laid down and I had this vision. I was watching TV right before this happened, and $1 Million Listing was on. And I was watching these girls show the house, and I was like, wow, that's so cool. And then they showed something. I think it was E! Entertainment, right? And they were talking about $1 Million Listing. And then they pivoted over to this new nightclub that was opening called Live in Miami with David Grutman and celebrities and this and that. So I kind of saw this before I went to sleep. And then when I went to sleep, I saw this vision of this word LIV, like you see it, and then MOR. So I saw live more in my dream, and then I woke up, and then it kind of just hit me like, wow, I just asked God for my purpose, and I had this dream, and it said live more. So I was like, and I started thinking again, because I would always think about life and death a lot, because of my dad.
By the way, for our Spanish-speaking people out there, tell us that in Spanish, if you can, that experience that you had with the live more.
Ok, yo estaba viendo televisión y había creo que era el canal E! Entertainment, y estaba mostrando algo de $1 Million Listing con unas muchachas mostrando unas casas muy lindas, y después estaba mostrando que iba a haber una inauguración de una discoteca Miami Live, y yo me fui a dormir. Le pregunté a Dios, ¿cuál es mi propósito? Por favor, ayúdame, necesito una señal, me siento perdida, estoy muy triste, ¿qué hago con mi vida? ¿Para qué me pusiste aquí? Necesito que me guíes un poquito. Y entonces me acosté y puse un cuaderno a mi lado con un lapicero y le dije, Dios, háblame, muéstrame algo, estoy muy perdida, estoy muy triste, necesito de tu ayuda. Y cuando me dormí, yo vi eso en mi sueño, las palabras live more, y cuando me levanté caí en cuenta.
Vivir más, dice, ¿no?
Ajá, es vivir más. So it's like live more is like live, like life, and then death. More. So, but it also means live more. Like we are going to die, right? We're all going to die. So why don't we live more? And this contrast of life and death, this yin yang, this idea of the yin yang, the dark and light, it really kind of hit me. And that was what was able to make me whole. Like I went through all this darkness, and then out of that, like a butterfly, I came out and had all this amazing light and blessings.
Amazing. Now, you started from the bottom up. You worked as a waitress at one time, I think you said, or some other things like that. What did you do before real estate?
So I did a lot of things. First, I worked for a rewards company for my stepdad, Destination Rewards. I worked there for 5 years when I was 17 years old. Then I wanted to move to Miami. My parents, said if I got a job, they would help me. So I started working for a magazine selling advertising. And That was, that was a good experience for me. Sold the most amount of ads. I sold the front cover, back cover.
Oh, okay.
I wrote my own articles for all my clients. It was a really cool experience. And then when I was actually doing that, trying to sell something for the magazine, and I walked into a cell phone.
So you were never a waitress, that you're saying? You never did that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I did do a waitress. I worked at a cell phone job first, and then I went to a waitress job.
Because a lot of people, they succeed, they started these,
Well, I was a waitress. I was actually a host. I was a host.
Hostess. So you're very personable. Maybe the personality and the sales maybe kicked in. You thought, you saw yourself with talent. And then now, apparently, you're selling very big, multi-million-dollar homes. I think you mentioned you were on the Housewives of, was it Miami or something, with Larsa Pippen? You helped her buy a home, I believe. And is that right? So you have a lot of celebrity clients. So I'm thinking
and Miami $1 Million Listing LA. I was on that show as well. Okay.
You're on that show. So, I'm thinking about these multi-million-dollar homes. Is that hard to sell? Is it easy? What's the process? How do you sell someone these kind of homes psychologically?
So, for me, it's a beautiful thing, because since I came from kind of like a broken home, I would say when I was younger, the idea of home and family was always such a beautiful thing to me. So for me, I get to work with beautiful families. I get to sell them their dream home. And it's like seeing them happy is almost like a dream come true for me. It was very fulfilling. It's almost like it heals that part of me that had the broken family when I see these families kind of come together and get this new home and move in. And then I see my clients get pregnant and have their babies, and I see their babies grow up. And it's just a really beautiful process.
But what's the secret? Because some people hearing this will say, well, how do you sell a multi-million-dollar home? That seems like it's very high level. Is there something that makes you a great saleswoman or salesperson? Is there an ingredient you think that you have to do this? Because you work with Armani and Porsche Design, all these beautiful buildings. The Bentley building, I think you are working on too. So how do you get to that point? What is your secret, if you can tell, let's say some aspiring salesperson, they're selling used cars right now. So how do you get them to sell multi-million-dollar properties?
So I think you have to just work your way up, right? Because I started from nothing. I had a job at my stepdad's company. I went around looking for jobs. I struggled for years. It took me years to get my real estate license, even after I knew that's what I wanted to do. So I did struggle a lot through that. I was a receptionist in a sales gallery, and I knew that's what I wanted to do. So I would say always put yourself in the environment that you want to be in. Surround yourself with things that you love. I loved the idea of selling the Porsche building so much. And I didn't care if I had to sweep the floor or get people coffee or be anything, even if I had to be whatever I had to be just to get a starting point position. I was making $300 a week. It wasn't even enough to get my nails done. I was walking to work. I had no car. I had a lease that I ended up over mileage. So I had a debt I had to pay. So I was, it was really hard. It was really hard for many years. And I think when people say, oh, it's such easy to get this quick success, it's not true. You really have to put in the time and the work. And I think I did that. And I think you have to really put love into everything that you do. I think that's so important. Be passionate about it. Be yourself. And be really authentic and honest with people. Also, loyalty is a big thing. Loyalty is big with me, with people that I deal with in my personal life. But I think it's also important in business too, right? Like I've been with the same company for 9 years. I started as a receptionist making maybe $12 an hour. You know what I mean? So I started somewhere, and I was able to prove myself and grow. And it took time, and it took a lot of hard work, and nobody sees the sweat and tears, that go behind all those years of commitment and consistency and discipline. And even when you don't feel good, you still get up and go to work, and you still get things done. And I find a lot of, I find to be inspired by people that I work with also and that I'm around. So I was lucky to, be able to get a position in such an amazing company, but it took me a long time to get that position. I looked everywhere. I was hosting a Miami new construction show where they paid me $200 to be the host because I was Miss South Beach with this, crown and stash. And that's where I met my current boss. And he's like, oh, you should work for us, and he gave me his card. And one day I was praying and I was like, God, what do I do? I need a job. I just moved to Sunny Isles.
Right.
And I'm running and I'm praying and I'm walking down Sunny Isles. I want to sell all these beautiful buildings. I go back to my place. My housekeeper gives me the bag of the show. I throw it on the bed and his card popped out of the bag on the bed. It just popped out. And I was I grabbed it. It said Armani. It was right downstairs. I emailed him right away. I said, hey, I have experience in a sales gallery. I see that you have one right downstairs, Armani. He said to come in tomorrow at 10. I got the job. He offered me to be his assistant. I said, no, I want to be in sales. I want to sell your building. He's like, you need 10 years of experience. I'm like, I know, this is what I want to do. He's like, are you sure? I was like, yeah, I'll just learn. I'll study. I'll get my license. And hopefully, you know, like that's what I want to do.
Right.
And
So
I think you also have to know what you want to do. Like make a goal for yourself first. And if you need help, ask for help people around you or try different environments. Right. Because I knew like, you know, once I started getting into this environment, I knew that's what I wanted. And I poured myself into that.
Yeah. Because you said that phrase, put yourself in the environment you want to be in. And no matter what, I think if I can summarize what you're saying, an environment that, you know, brings you love, you said, is passion, and you don't quit, right? You keep at it at whatever level you're at. And eventually,
my clients tell me I'm relentless. They say you're relentless. You could tell me $5 million today, tomorrow you're going to call me to sell me another house. It's
okay, like, yeah, but you do it relentlessly with joy. It sounds like, right? You're relentlessly joyful, I think.
Yes,
what you tell me, right?
And also, you know, passionate, right? Because you have to believe in what you're doing. I truly believe in everything that I'm doing. I truly believe in everything that I'm selling. I want to live in there. I want to sell. You know, and I'm selling it, but I want to live in it. You know. Yeah,
I see what you're saying. So there's a passion to it. Now, I was driving down with the friends when I was on the trip, kind of north, and I did pass Sunny Island, and I saw this beautiful building. This is before you even told me about it. It was a Porsche. I thought, wow, this is interesting, a Porsche dealership. But I didn't realize that you have condominiums or something up there too, right? In the Porsche building?
It's a Porsche building, actually. And you have a car elevator called the Deservator, which is a patented technology by my boss, Gil Deser, the developer who actually invented this idea of you're in your car and you get to go with your car up to your apartment.
Wow, interesting. So you buy is it an apartment or condo? How do you phrase it?
It's a condo or apartment, either one.
Condo, okay. So you can buy the car and the condo at the same time, or how does that work typically on this thing?
Typically, they have the cars already, but you can drive your car into the building, below the building, and then the car elevator picks you up with a robotic arm lift and lifts you up into the sky from top to bottom at 60 seconds. So it goes 800 feet per minute.
Okay, amazing.
And you have your cars in your living room. So when you get up there, it's a very unique and it's one of a kind. There's nothing like it in the world. I love cars. My dad loved cars.
Okay. So you saw the car and then the place kind of go together, right? So it's like something you have that you can enjoy. And what's the price range, let's say, for people? You know, maybe some people are listening that may even be interested.
So the price point Porsche is about $5 million to $15 million. And then now we're selling the Bentley building. So this is like the version 2 of the car elevator. So now instead of a 2-car garage in your unit, you have a 4-car garage in the unit. Wow. And if you combine 2 units, then you would have a 7-car garage in a lower penthouse. Those go for $16 million. Okay.
And so you have to have the Bentley that goes with it, or does it matter? There's usually Bentley's cars.
So it doesn't matter, but you know, we do have a lot of Bentley lovers and we do offer promotions if they purchase a new Bentley.
Okay, fantastic.
Their Bentley condo. Right.
So you're in a very interesting level of development in terms of your wealth, let's say, and riches. But also we talk about inner riches. Now, I gave you a copy of my book, I think The 3 Secrets of Happiness, and you learned some things from it. What was the thing that impacted you the most? What did you learn from The 3 Secrets of Happiness? And by the way, this is a story of a pompous psychiatrist that goes to a mountain and meets a martial arts master named Tanaka. And he wants to learn the 3 Secrets of Happiness, but his ego is in the way. So the martial arts teacher has to break down his ego, and then eventually he finds the 3 secrets, which turn out to be joyful optimism, gratitude, and forgiveness. So what impacted you in terms of those 3 elements?
You know, I got very emotional reading the book. I'm just an emotional person. Like I watch a movie and I'll cry. And
you have the book in front of you there, by any chance? Yeah.
I do have the book. I was actually, I'll grab it. I was crying when I read it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because I was like, oh my God, it's so impactful how the simple things, like less is more sometimes. When you take a really complicated emotion or concept and just like simplify it, that's so powerful for me. So I feel like you really did that so well in that book. And it was really touching the way that, you know, that story kind of played out. I sent it to all my friends. I was like, you have to read this.
That's great. Well, think about the 3 secrets. Okay, so we have joyful optimism, which it seems like you do have because you kept at this, you know, belief that you wanted to be in this high-level real estate business, you know, that you're talking about the environment. And, you know, they've done studies actually on luck, and luck actually can be made. People don't always know that. You can actually create your own luck. Okay, that's invincible. That's a different. Okay, appreciate that. Okay, so so basically, you can make your own luck. So, and what they found, and they did studies of people who are lucky in life, who, you know, say win the lottery, they get into great relationships, great businesses. And people who are unlucky in life, they get into car accidents, lousy relationships, lousy careers. One of the differences is that the lucky people are more optimistic. They're open to new experiences. So they can be waiting in line at a store and they start talking to someone and say, oh, maybe I'll learn something or maybe I'll make a connection. Unlucky people say, I'm on my own business. I don't want to get involved. But it sounds like you've been very lucky in terms of you met, was it Mr. Desert, you said, at some kind of event that you were at?
Actually, it was Sebastian. He's our sales director. He's the one that I met. I met Gil through actually one of his friends before that at some party, but it was totally unrelated. Right. But I did meet Sebastian. He's really like my manager and my broker for Desert and Realty, Sebastian Tetamanti. Yes. So he's the one that I had met at the show, and he really manages a lot for Desert. So he's been a model and even like a father figure to me in my career as well, because he's seen me grow so much and he's taught me a lot. Right.
But the key is that you were there at the right place at the right time, right? You said you made a connection with them. You put yourself out there is what I'm saying, in the environment. Right. So that's the key to.
I'm out there a lot. Like I'm very friendly.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like because of the spirituality aspect of it, right? Like I really believe in God, and I believe that God has something special for me. And I'm always in this mentality of like, God loves me and God's going to help me. And, these things, lucky things do happen to me, but I do pray a lot. So I think it's part of that. And I believe my dad, wherever he is, he's kind of like my guardian angel and my lucky star, So
let me ask you, the three secrets, gratitude, optimism, and forgiveness. Which is the one you have the most, easiest for you of those three?
I think that they're all really important. But I like the gratitude one because every time I feel sad, I go back to gratitude. I'm like, look at all I have.
Definitely.
Or even if I'm feeling like I don't have a lot, or I'm feeling like whatever's going on is just getting me down, I look at, I have my hands, I have my feet.
There we go.
Kidnapped, right? I'm not in a jungle like my dad was. So when I think about like what my dad went through and like what I go through, I'm like, I'm so silly for getting upset about these things. Or, I should be so grateful for the fact that like every day when I wake up, I try to thank God. Every night when I go to bed, I try to thank God. Thank you for the day, busy day. Or in the morning, I'm like, God, thank you for today. There's an opportunity for it to be beautiful. And really try to make the most of it.
You have the 4 puppies. Is there a way to, do you have a puppy there around you?
Yes. Louis, come here. Come here.
Okay. So your dog just had 4 puppies. We're taking a little break here for the puppy gathering.
I didn't name them yet.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He's a big boy.
That's big for a puppy. Wow, this looks like a grown.
No, he's a dad.
That's a dad. Oh, okay. Okay.
That's a dad, and he loves me. He's very spoiled. Like,
are you going to keep the puppies or gift them, or what's your idea?
Now here's mommy. She gets a little jealous, so we have to give her a little attention too.
Okay.
She's really skinny. She's a mini.
Oh, wow. Okay, amazing.
She's a little bit smaller.
Very cute. Yes.
And she's really cute too. Right. She's been going through a lot this month with her C-section.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, definitely. Unconditional Love. We had James Cameron, Bruce W. Cameron, who wrote the A Dog's Purpose series. Have you heard about that? The movies?
Oh my God, yes. I could make me cry also. I saw the first one. I didn't see the second one yet.
Oh, did you watch it after we spoke, or you saw it before, I think?
No, you told me to watch it. And
yeah. Wasn't it something? Yeah. So, and actually, it's the idea that, dogs are the one thing that give us unconditional love, and, us for dogs. And also parents and young children. But adult relationships can be a challenge sometimes.
Betty, will you bring a puppy real quick? I want to show you one of the puppies.
Okay.
Bring the white one too, so she can see. So there's 4 of them. Bring 2 and then the other 2, so you can see them all 4. Show you.
Okay. We're turning this into a puppy show,
No, but you know what is really important about this whole concept is like people, they don't understand, right? Find your happiness.
Oh, wow.
A lot of things.
Amazing.
These little things are my happiness. Look at how cute. I'll probably keep this one.
Yeah, okay. That's pretty cool. Amazing.
These little babies.
Yeah, you can't be depressed when you have beautiful puppies, right?
It's just beautiful. Life is a beautiful thing, and the fact that my dogs got pregnant without me planning it was kind of crazy.
That's amazing. Now, one thing I do want to
multiplies.
What's that again? Love multiplies.
Love multiplies.
Yes, I like that. That's a good phrase.
Starting with 2, now I have 6.
Now, one thing, Melissa, the last part of the book, talks about forgiveness. Now, here's where so for some people it's a challenge, especially self-forgiveness, right? Oh yeah, they're okay. They're beautiful. So think about this. How good are you at self-forgiveness? Because I know with your dad, maybe there are regrets, or who knows, in life there are regrets.
Forgiveness is a little harder for me because, especially with the terrorists, right? Mm-hmm. There was one point where we got to kind of go and meet with my brother did it. I did not do it, but to go meet with the terrorist. Yes. And they're supposed to apologize to the families for what they did. It was part of the peace treaty in Colombia. And I just, I remember writing a letter, and I had given it to my brother, and he read it. And it's hard for me to forgive them because, I had to, right? I had to do it at one point, but it was really hard. And I still feel like, because even in my personal life, I have a hard time letting go of some things that hit those triggers.
Right. But yeah, forgiveness, because more like self-compassion too, like forgiving yourself for so-called things in the past, regrets and mistakes.
Very hard for me because, like, for Father's Day, for example, like right before he got killed, like that week, I was having a lot of trouble sleeping, and I'm like, I need to call my stepmother so she can record me, and then she would put the recording on the radio. It was called "The Voices of the Kidnapped," and the radio channel where you can call and leave a message, and they have radios in the jungle. Hopefully they can hear you. Yes. And I was like, I need to do this message. I haven't done it in a while. He needs to hear from me. And I had this anxiety, like something in me telling me like, you got to do it. You got to do it. That day, a couple of days before that, I had written a letter. It was a 4-page letter for my dad for Father's Day. And when I went, that was the time where I wasn't doing so good in school. So I had summer school. And when I went to summer school, there was a girl there, a couple girls, and they all were like talking, oh, it's Father's Day. Look what I got my dad. Oh, we're going to go to dinner, his favorite restaurant. I'm going to hug him, give him this card. Look at the card I got him. And I got like paralyzed. And because I was so upset, like, wow, I have to go home and call my stepmom, who I don't get along with, and put my heart on a radio, on a recording that's going to go on national radio where he might not hear it. He's in the jungle. Like, the whole reality of it was so strong. And I didn't end up doing it. And I got too emotional that day, and I didn't want to be emotional on national radio. And I didn't want him to hear me like that and get more upset about, or anything. So I'm like, oh, I'll do this later. Well, guess what? When I woke up, I was like, it's too late. Something in my head, it's too late. It's too late. So I never read him the letter, and I had to read it to him at his funeral. And that was really hard for me too. It was hard for me to forgive myself for not being strong enough that day to read that letter, because it would have been nice for him to hear that. Everything I had written and I had to say before he died. Yes, of course. Forgiveness is hard. It's not easy. Yes, it's easy, but it's necessary.
Yes. Well, what I was going to say is basically think of when you were younger, say you were in a certain psychological grade level, maybe 6th grade, and you made, you took an action, right? But that's the best you could have done. But now you're in college or graduate school, psychologically or spiritually, so you would act differently today, perhaps. And the key is we do an exercise where we actually have you imagine yourself as you were and your present self going back in time and talking to yourself and say, we've learned, we're growing in the future. This is going to be something special. And maybe give yourself a hug mentally. So there's an exercise that we can do with that. Because self-compassion is one of the most important things we're learning now in research in terms of growth, loving yourself in a positive way, not egotistically, but in a way that you can give more love to others, right? Because unless you love yourself in a real way, you can't really do that.
I find myself like being more compassionate than other people are, like more compassionate than usual. And it's probably because I've been through so much and I know how bad it feels to hurt. And I feel like I'm always like over helping, over giving. In relationships, I'm oversharing, over loving. Like it's always like I'm over compensating. And I think that that's really important too, because a lot of people are not so compassionate. And then when they do see you being overly compassionate, then they think there's something wrong with you because you're like that, because they don't see that. No, like,
right. But the kids,
groups.
Yeah. The kids, think of yourself like the sun. The sun shines on everybody, right? The young, the old, the attractive, not so attractive, the poor and the rich. And some people don't like the sun. They cover up, but the sun doesn't get mad, right? They just keep shining. So when you send your loving energy without expectation, that's the idea, to keep that going out there. And again, some people may not respond well, but a lot of people may. And your goal is to keep shining the love, which is wonderful. The other thing I want to mention, I know we're running a little bit short on time, but there are a lot of topics we can talk about. This is really interesting. Is you referred to a lot in articles I read about beauty and the brains. So that you're both, physical, perhaps beauty and also intelligence. So the idea of beauty is interesting because for some people, beauty is external, in terms of, being better exercise-wise, health-wise, physical appearance. And also there's inner beauty as well. What's your advice to people that they think they're not that attractive, physically or even internally? What advice would you give to them?
I think you have to really love yourself and feel beautiful, no matter what you look like, right? And you have to do what makes you feel beautiful, because beautiful is a very subjective thing. And there's so many different types of beauty. And in Colombia, we say all women are like flowers. So there's different types of flowers, but they're all beautiful. And that's the same with women or even men. There's beautiful things about men too. And you have to find what you love about yourself and you have to make yourself feel beautiful. So for me, me getting my hair extensions makes me feel beautiful, or sometimes getting Botox, but that's not really what it is. It's you have to feel beautiful inside as a beautiful person, right? If you're honest, if you're caring, if you're loving, people are like, oh, you're so sweet, or oh, we really love you, or oh, you've done such a great job helping us with your house. You really go above and beyond for your clients. We see that. Though that's when I really feel beautiful, when my clients are like, oh my God, you're amazing, or you've done such a good job, or thank you for everything you did. Like, that's when I feel the most beautiful. It's not always about the way you look, but I also do think that it's important to do the things that nurture your heart and that make you feel good. So if for me, lip filler and Botox and extensions makes me feel good, then I'm going to do that. I don't care what people think, because that's what makes me feel good inside. And if you feel good inside, then you're going to also like feel better outside too. So I would say that it's really important to love yourself through the hard times and through everything. When you're skinny, when you're fat, when you lose weight, when you're working out, when you're not, when you're hungry, when you're tired, when you have makeup, when you don't. It's almost like you have to learn to embrace yourself through everything and really just feel beautiful inside of it for who you are and your unique.
Because I think you're saying something earlier. You said loyalty, but also being loyal to yourself. And a lot of people are not really loyal to themselves.
And sometimes you betray yourself to be loyal to others. And that's something that I had to learn too. Like, I had to stop doing that.
Yes, definitely.
I had to stop sacrificing myself for other people. I don't know why I do this sometimes. I'm like, why do I do that?
Well, and the love types, you may be the nurturer or the gentle artist.
I'm like, wait a minute, I need to give it to myself. This is stop.
Well, we're all in the process of growth. I mean, that's an interesting idea. Now, the one thing I want to ask you, though, I know you're very successful in business. I mean, you sold $200 million of real estate, which is an amazing figure. You're working with top-level people, helping people, right? Families have their homes. What advice would you give to a young person starting out? Maybe they're a minority, a Latino, a woman, or someone that's, I used to be shy, and I wrote a book called The Gift of Shyness. People that are maybe a little bit shy, or they don't have the confidence, perhaps. So what advice would you give them to reach the high level of business, entrepreneurship, and so forth?
I think, look, in any business, it's not about always what you know, but who you know. So your network determines your net worth. So you have to know the right people. You have to put yourself around those people. Even if you're not there yet, like go to the conferences. I go to the Grant Cardone conference. I go to Elena's. I watch her speak. I take notes. I learn. I apply those things to my life, right? Whether it's a podcast, listening to a podcast, whether it's going to an event, networking events. I always try to go to events. Maybe it's putting yourself in the right place, like going to the Four Seasons for dinner or hanging out at the bar. Maybe you meet somebody next to you. Don't be afraid to talk to other people. People are not your enemies. We're all here sharing this life experience. And I think that when you really realize that teamwork makes the dream work, you're going to be more successful. Don't try to do everything on your own, and try to meet people and create relationships, because the relationships is what I think has gotten me this far. I've always created, I don't think about, let me make a deal with this person. I always think about, I want to make a relationship with this person. And then I have all these relationships with all these people that, it's like it just grows and grows and keeps growing, but I never stop seeking relationships. I keep seeking relationships, whether it's at the valet, whether it's at the restaurant, the waitress, and I'll tell them about, hey, I work for this building, or I'll be at an event, and maybe an Uber driver, for example, will pick me up at the airport, and I'll start talking to him, and we'll start talking about life, and I'll ask him for advice on a boyfriend or this or that. Like, random conversations with random people sometimes are the best, because sometimes you're more comfortable telling a stranger what's going on than your own family or friends.
Yes.
So I've always found that I have really good connections with strangers, like best conversations, and almost like I feel like God uses people to kind of teach you things. And
right. So you are what I said. You are the sun. Extend loving energy without expectation. Like you said, it's not transactional, but it's relational. So you want to create a bond of affinity, right? A bond of connection.
You want to be a blessing. You want to give that loving energy out, because I do think it comes back. Like whether it's giving a homeless guy $100 at the red light, or like little things like that, that I feel like really fill my heart with like just joy and love. And I'm just like, I was able to, like, they'll be, oh my God, I can't believe it. You're so amazing. Thank you. And I'm like, you're amazing. God bless you, and like, it's just a good feeling all around. So I want to help others too, because I feel like God has helped me.
Exactly. One more thing now, you know how we have currently these so-called superhero movies, Marvel, Iron Man, Wonder Woman, and all that. Let me ask you, if you were to think of a superhero in your life, it could be someone from the past, a historical figure, it could be a present person, a real person, or maybe one of these, characters in the movies. Who would that be that you would want to be like, or, that you admire as a superhero?
I mean, I love Superwoman. I love Superman. I really think also my hero, my dad was kind of like, I looked up to him when I was young. I looked up to my grandfather. I look up to my mom. My mom is my hero for going through all the stuff she's been through. Yeah. be a good
So
mom.
pick one. If you could pick one superhero or superheroine,
I think you have to be your own superhero. That's what I think. I think you have to be inspired by all the superheroes in the world.
So Melissa, is that a new superhero? We're going to see you on the TV someday or the movies?
I wish I could be a superhero for people. Why not? If I could do that, Make-A-Wish Foundation, you can make people's wishes come true. I love all that stuff.
Okay. I think we were talking about you wanted to inspire women and, other entrepreneurial people to reach a higher level of success. And
you have to help others. Nobody does anything on their own. Somebody helped me where I am. You have to help other people too.
Exactly. And you mentioned your friend Elena Cardone. I mean, it'd be nice to have her on the show, perhaps, if she wants to come on.
I would love to have Elena Cardone on the show. I'd love to have Stephanie Jester on the show. They've great inspirational women for me in business. A very successful businesswoman.
Yes.
And they're just amazing people all throughout. Like they're so beautiful inside and out. And I would definitely have them.
Yeah, definitely. We can, I think it's good because, you do have a talent also for connecting, I think, and also for expressing. So it would be great to do that. And I think you said you do want to help more, maybe speaking or other inspirational activities in the future.
And I would love to write a book with you one day. How to live more.
Wow. Okay. It's okay. News channel right now. The first thing we've heard.
Collab.
That'd be kind of interesting. Yeah. Okay. We'll like that. Tell us about any new project. I know you mentioned the Bentley building. Is that the big new thing you're working on right now?
This is the new project I'm working on right now. I have, millions of dollars in listings. I have about 10 listings in the Porsche building that I work with, rentals, resales, and off-market developer units.
Okay.
I'm also doing the Bentley building. So I'm one of the
tell us about, is that already established or are you going to sell the units in the Bentley building or what's the?
But we're 40% sold already and we are just starting construction. It will be ready in 2028.
Wow.
I'm very excited. It's going to be the most unbelievable building in the world, in my opinion,
I see. Incredible. So it sounds like you got a lot of beautiful projects ahead of you. And you also want to help people and share that lovely energy, which is wonderful.
We're going to do a Lamborghini building also, too, with a car lover in the future. Yeah.
So you got it all going on. Okay.
And my car lover, he's got like 2,000 cars. So this whole idea of coming up with a car elevator that came out of his love for cars. And that's a beautiful thing too. He's very innovative and he's different than other developers.
You're talking about Desert, the son or the dad, you're saying?
Or both of them.
Excellent. All right. Well, where can we hear more about you? Do you have a website, any social media? Where can we connect with you, listeners on the show?
So you can follow me, LiveMore, LIV_MOR on Instagram. And that's usually where I,
Okay, that's the best way to reach you. Okay. And your companies or website or anything to look at or?
Right now I'm working on a new website because I had an old one. But my email is melissa@dezer.com. And that's my work email. So anything to do with real estate, I'm pretty active through my emails and my social media. My Facebook is my name, Melissa Barragan. So I'm also on there. But I do most of my interacting on social media.
You say Barragan or Barragan? How do you pronounce it?
Barragan. But I think Barragan is like the
American people. Okay.
Melissa Barragan or Melissa Barragan.
Okay, we can do both. Okay. Well, it's been a pleasure having you on the show, Melissa. And you have a lot to offer. You have joy, you have compassion, and also you're very successful. So that's a great role model for a lot of people that have been through trauma or any obstacles in life that you can achieve your dreams. And like you said, put yourself in the right environment, be consistent, and be loyal to yourself and others.
You need to be laser focused.
Exactly.
You need to be consistent. Like I say, I want to wake up at 7:00 in the morning, be at the gym by 8, be at work by 10.
All right. So everyone listening to this, let's go out this week and be laser focused, consistent. Also find your passion, as Melissa's saying, and above all, give love without expectation. So it's been a pleasure, Melissa. So this is again Dr. Alex Avila with Love University. If you want to write to us, you can write to us at loveuniversitylove@gmail.com, 310-226-8090, loveuniversity.love. Until next time, everyone put away your notebooks, your iPads, your phones. Class is now dismissed. This is Dr. Avila. That was a great interview with Melissa Barragan, a celebrity real estate agent in Miami, Florida, who's very successful in selling multi-million-dollar properties to high-end celebrities and others. But at the same time, she has a very loving heart. She wants to help people and contribute to them having a beautiful home. What we learned today are very interesting things. First of all, is to forgive yourself. She went through a horrible tragedy, the kidnap and death of her father. She blamed herself in some ways, but then she was able to forgive herself and at the same time, extend loving energy to other people. She mentioned helping homeless, autistic children. That's a very important part of it. And also finding your passion, your love, and being committed to going to the environment. Put yourself in the right environment where you can develop that. That could be a career, a business, or even a relationship. Put yourself out there consistently. And don't give up on your passion, your dream. Work hard. She said she was willing to sweep up the place there because she loved cars and also real estate, and she eventually became vice president of the company. So she started at the very bottom, and anyone listening to this, you can do it too. Whatever your dream is, your passion, pursue it with all of your heart and mind and soul. At the same time, look forward to helping other people, connecting. She said relationships are very important to reach to the highest level of success and also happiness. We know that in psychology, depression results when you have a little bit of social support. When you have a lot of people in your life that support you and love you and care about you, then you will reach the highest parts of success. So again, this is Dr. Alex Avila. If you have a show idea, if you want to be on a future show, if you want to comment on today's show, make sure you follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Love University Podcast. You can follow us on Twitter at Love Letter U Podcast. You can download the podcast on Spotify, SoundCloud, iTunes, and Podbean. And you can also like, subscribe, and comment on our YouTube channel, Love University. If you want to contact us, you can also do it at loveuniversitylove@gmail.com. Call us at 310-226-8090 and visit us at loveuniversity.love. Until next time, go out this week, be committed to your goals, love what you do, and extend love energy without expectation. This is Dr. Alex Avila with Love University. Class is now dismissed.